Alright, so I'm going to be explaining how Itachi, sorry, my god, I said Itachi. I'm tripping. I lost sleep for this update, okay? So if I ever trip up and say Itachi or Superman for any of these characters or Batman, it's because I have basically zero sleep, okay? And what I'm gonna try and showcase to you right now is Ichigo and why he's a good character. And I know he's not evolved yet, but I already have his passive, so I'm gonna talk about him because obviously I want to talk about this character because a lot of people might think he's a bad character or a bad unit because they don't understand his passives, but his passives are pretty great, to say the least. Okay, his passives are pretty awesome. They are pretty good. Both of his passives are pretty good. The second one especially. The first one's also pretty good. And the best part about this unit is he's better with Ethereal than with Monarch. Getting Monarch on him will actually kind of make him not bad, but Ethereal is just a lot better for him than Monarch is, okay? Okay, so let's talk about it, right? So his first passive is actually better with Ethereal, and his second passive is better with Monarch. And I'm gonna basically explain to you what his evolved passive is. His evolved passive is he can get the buff from units or support units that buff a group of units. So for example, Ishtar can only buff Fate Stay Night units. So if Ishtar buffs Fate Stay Night units and they're the only ones who can benefit from that, Ichigo can benefit from that as well because of his evolved passive. And every time you upgrade him, he will actually increase the damage buff from that passive, which is insane. And then his first passive, which is what he has right now, is every missing stock, which is the life stock, increases damage by 20%, which is gonna increase him by 20%, and range by 10%. So if you lose 2 stocks, that's going to be 40% damage and up 20% range. And a lot of people might say, oh my god, losing a life stock. But realize this, right? Life stock is not that useful. There's really not any game modes where you're gonna be using this life stock right here, so losing this life stock is really fine in my opinion, especially because there's a lot of other units in this update that also rely on life stock, and you can use characters like Sakura to kind of force lose a life stock. And again, this just makes characters like Sakura even better because you can force this buff on Ichigo way faster, which is kind of nice. And also, he can do 500% damage on his next attack if he loses a stock. Now, the reason why this is pretty overpowered is if you take into consideration, right, that 20% damage buff is pretty good because if you lose 2 life stocks, right, that's 40% damage buff. 40% damage buff multiplied by to 3 characters, that's 120% damage buff total on all 3 characters, excluding the buff that he's gonna get from the passives from his second passive, right? So if I place down an Ishtar character right near him, every time I upgrade him, it's gonna increase the passive bonus that he's gonna get from that Ishtar buff, kind of like how Ragna does it, except slightly better, right? So Ishtar is pretty good, and he right now is full AoE, or not full AoE, circle AoE. He's not yet evolved, but really what makes his characters very good is their passives, and so far the passives for Ichigo are actually pretty good, okay? The passives for him are actually pretty good, and they're pretty exciting. And the reason why I made this video is because there's a lot of people who don't understand how his passives work, and that's one of the reasons why I'm making this video, because they don't understand the passives and they think he's gonna be bad, and I don't want people to think that this unit is bad because he's actually a very good unit, okay? He's a very W unit, and evolve him if you can because he's one of the, not the best unit I'd say, but one of the, I think it's gonna be meta in this update for sure. But yeah, that's pretty much it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody.